Today's stop in Pennsylvania is the first of 3 this week in battleground states for the president, followed later by Michigan and Wisconsin. Vice President Harris herself was in Michigan earlier today, speaking at another union-focused event in Detroit.
The labor movement has always understood the power of the collective and the power of unity. The power of unity. And while we are fighting so much nonsense that is about trying to divide our country, trying to pull us apart, look to what the history and the present of labor tells us about the power of the collective and unity. The spirit of that work, as much as the product of that work, is very telling and gives us really good lessons about what creates strength.
I just heard that Governor Wallace is speaking right now live in Milwaukee at his Labor Day event. Let's listen to that.
It doesn't help with our ability to collectively bargain and to fight with the dignity of work that we know every single person in America deserves. So look, I sometimes say this. We're running for something. We're running to run forward to the future. And I don't think it's always great to run against something, but I do think it's important to be informed. If you think those guys were bad the last time he was in the White House, just wait if he gets another shot at it. And again, they have told us exactly what they're going to do. The goals in Project 2025 are clear. It should be subtitled, How to Screw the Working People. That's how it should be listed. When you make it harder to unionize, you make it harder on all workers. Allowing employers to cut overtime pay or even eliminate it. Look, Project 2025 is even going after the 40-hour work week. Let's all be very clear. It's the folks standing here and those whose shoulders we stand on gave us the 40-hour work week and the weekend. So thank you, labor. Somebody said, what's next, child labor? Hell yeah, it's in there. That's what they've got in there. You see states doing that, putting our children at risk. That's what they'll do. So look, they'll go after things like Social Security and Medicare. And I keep saying this. Repeal the Affordable Care Act, go back to no pre-existing condition protections. And even if you're not on the ACA, you know somebody who relies on it. And here's what I say. They don't think a damn about Social Security because I guess if you've got $1 billion, you don't care if your Social Security check shows up. But I tell you who does. My mom. She pays the bills with that in the heat and buys food with her Social Security check. And she worked for it and earned it. That's how it works. Look, I know this is preaching to the choir, but we got about 64 days to sing, choir. We got 64 days to get to our relatives, to talk to them, to tell them what's out there. Look, this guy has made it clear how he stands. He's sitting down at Mar-a-Lago after he got elected president, and this was his exact quote. He's talking to a bunch of folks at Mar-a-Lago. You're rich as hell, and we're going to give you a tax cut. At the same time, he was telling workers they get paid too much already. That's who this guy is. You tell me who in Wisconsin is sitting around saying, damn, I wish they'd give billionaires tax cuts and screw me over. Damn, I wish they'd take my health care away. I wish they'd underfund my public school. I wish they would make my job more difficult and more dangerous. And then at the end of the day, I wish they'd make me work till I'm 75 years old. No one's saying that. No one's asking for that. Agenda. What they're asking for is to be treated fairly with dignity. That's what we have. Look, I know, we all know this. I remember a time when Republicans talked about things like freedom, they meant it. They would never turn their back on our allies. But that's not these guys. Trump and Vance, when they talk about freedom, means government should have the freedom to invade every corner of our life. They talk about small government, small enough to be in your bedroom, small enough to be in your exam room, small enough to be in your library, telling you the things that you should make decisions about. So let's be very clear. Where I come from and where you come from as neighbors, we respect differences. That's your opinion. Look, we're sitting here together, Brewers and Twins fans, Vikings and Packers. Look, we respect it. But on things like health care and what books I read and democracy, we all live by that very simple golden rule. Mind your own damn business. Mind your own business. Your Republican neighbors want to live that way. We have to tell that story. But look, I agree with this. We have a responsibility to tell people not just what we're against, but what we're for. So let me just take a second here to tell you exactly what Vice President Harris and I will do. As president, Vice President Harris will sign the PRO Act, make it easier to form unions, period. Period. And you know what comes out of that? You can collectively bargain. You can go do the work to get fair wages, safer working conditions, good health care, and a good pension. I saw last week the Wall Street Journal was trying to say, because they did a story, that apparently I am the poorest person to ever run for vice president. But then they did another story that said, oh, he's actually richer than his statement says because he has, and I quote, like this is an evil thing, a defined benefit pension plan. That is my wish for every American, to have a defined benefit pension plan. So look, we'll lower taxes on working families, and we can make corporations pay their fair share. Look, they're doing really well. They can pay their fair share because guess what? We have a saying in Minnesota, when everybody does better, everybody does better. It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. And you can be sure we'll keep fighting for Social Security and Medicare, and we're damn sure not going to cut taxes for the wealthy and raise the age on Medicare and Social Security. That will not happen. So look, we got it in Minnesota, and we want it for everybody. We're going to fight for paid family and medical leave for everybody in this country. Shouldn't be asking so much. Spend a little time with your child after they're born, or if you've got chemotherapy treatments, to be able to not lose your house because you're getting health care. That's not that difficult. Well, we want to make sure that you don't just get by, but that you can get ahead and thrive. And be clear.
We've been listening to Governor Tim Walz. He is at a rally there in Milwaukee. Joining our coverage, former RNC spokesman, host of the Bulwark podcast, MSNBC political analyst Tim Miller's here. Also joining us, Washington bureau chief and White House correspondent for the Griot, April Ryan's back. She's the author of the book, Black Women Will Save the World. And with us from the Harris rally coming up in just a few moments in Pittsburgh, my friend and colleague, NBC News White House correspondent Mike Memley. Mike Memley, I want to start with you because we came on the air with coverage of Kamala Harris's event with Governor Whitmer and Randy Weingarten in Champaign in Detroit. We have been on the air since she landed in Pittsburgh. She is on her way. She's probably in the building in which you were standing, Governor Walz, in Milwaukee. I mean, this is what campaigns look like on Labor Day. It has to be stated that Trump's hunkering down in Mar-a-Lago while his VP is getting booed at events that I saw while I was off last week. That in and of itself is an unbelievable contrast in the state of these two campaigns.
Yeah, Nicolle, it really is striking because one of the things that had made Democrats nervous, frankly, is that while we have seen union leaders make a clear show of force in support of the Democratic ticket, it was the Biden campaign, now the Harris campaign, throughout this campaign, you had this question of, did the rank and file union members align with their leadership? And the Trump campaign has been somewhat strategic throughout the course of the last year in trying to make a play for some of those union voters. The Teamsters in particular, the former president had said, yeah, the leadership may be for Biden, but I'm going for the rank and file. So to see Donald Trump, or frankly, to not see Donald Trump on the campaign trail seems like a real unforced error. Something, you know, if you want to stand with labor, you show up on Labor Day, right? That's kind of the mission. You contrast that with what we're seeing from the Harris campaign, which is a very intentional rollout for the first time together in this new formulation with Harris at the top of the ticket and Biden no longer on it, is the president and the vice president as a ticket showing up for a campaign event here. Nicolle, my history with President Biden in this city on this day in particular goes back a long way. 2008, I was with then Senator Biden when he made his first solo campaign appearance as Barack Obama's new running mate, and it was here in Pittsburgh. He came back in 2009. He came back in 2015 when he was thinking of running for president. In 16, there were chances of Run, Joe, Run. He came back in 16 with Tim Kaine, who had just been minted as the vice presidential candidate for Hillary Clinton. And when Biden was thinking of running and planning to run in 2020, he sort of soft launched it by marching literally in the Pittsburgh Labor Day parade. So this is yet another important kind of passing of the torch moment for Biden to Harris. And we're going to see him do what Democrats feel he has always done so well. And one reason why he has such a great depth of support still with so many Democrats, acting as a validator for somebody else, being able to say, Harris gets you in the way that you have been with me and I have gotten you after all these years. So an important opportunity to see this ticket together, this former ticket together, since Harris is now at the top of it.
And Mike, no mistake that this is their first joint campaign appearance, I assume.
No, that's absolutely right. I was talking with a senior Harris campaign advisor and laying out what I just did to you, that long history Biden has with Pittsburgh. And they said, yeah, it's almost as if we planned it this way. He was politely saying, you're stating the obvious, Mike. You know, this is why we're doing this. And it also is a preview of what I think we're going to see from the president, right? We haven't seen him on the campaign trail since he announced he wasn't running. He gave that quite emotional address at the Democratic National Convention. And then he has been spending quite a bit of time with his family on vacation for the last few weeks. But part of that, as always with the presidency, is a working vacation where he was meeting with his team to sort of plot out what do we want to do with the rest of this campaign and with the rest of your time in office. And we see this week a perfect encapsulation of what this is going to look like now for President Biden moving forward. Here today in Pennsylvania, later this week, talking about the economy and his economic accomplishments in Wisconsin and in Michigan. Those three states have always been and will continue to be the most critical for assembling the path to 270 for Vice President Harris. Yes, there are states like North Carolina, especially Georgia, where they continue on to push the envelope and expand that traditional political map. But those are the core states. Those are states where President Biden does still have pockets of support, especially with senior voters and union voters. And this is also something of a kickoff for that effort that the White House says will be a very determined and busy one for the president through these last 9 weeks of the campaign, Nicolle.
Tim Miller, you are like human truth serum. Tell me how you see the state of the race today.
Well, I think that the Harris-Wallace campaign has a small lead, but and that is a complete inverse of where we were at the 4th of July. So if we're using our summer holidays, it has been a dramatic turn from that barbecue to this one today on Labor Day. But it's not an